Recently, Australia got to see a total lunar eclipse. This is when the Earth gets between the sun and the moon, and the shadow of the Earth is cast on the moon, turning it dark and red. I was able to go and see the lunar eclipse with some of my friends, and it actually got me thinking about the topic of being an expert on something, or at least being perceived as an expert. So back in, I guess, a previous life of mine, when I was an undergrad in New Zealand, I was involved in an urban astronomy group. We would take telescopes out onto the street, and I would show members of the public through the telescope and answer their questions about space and about astronomy. I guess during that time, I would have been expected to be an expert on things like a lunar eclipse, phases of the moon, and how all of that is working. And being in that role gave me a lot of confidence to answer questions on that topic. Even if I didn't totally understand them, I felt a level of confidence to, re-say explanations that I'd heard other people give, or to say something that I knew made physical sense, enough so that it would satisfy me and satisfy the person asking the question. Even if I did have some of my deeper, questions myself about how this was working, I wouldn't really raise them because I was expected to be in the role of answering the questions, not asking them. When I went up to watch the eclipse the other week, I didn't really tell these friends I was with about that, experience that I had with telescopes and stuff, and I just sort of took a backseat role of letting someone else in the group stand up as that expert and answer our questions about how the eclipse was working, because I still had things I didn't totally understand and that I wanted to know more about. So I found viewing the eclipse to be really fun because I was able to ask questions, things like, how much darker is the moon going to get, and how long is it going to last, and which countries can see it right now. And I don't think I would have felt confident asking those questions if I'd been in the role of the expected expert. I think it was only, from that backseat role I was able to really engage my own curiosity instead of standing on, a pedestal and just regurgitating explanations that I'd sort of heard or read on the internet or something. And I don't know when this sort of thing started, but it's definitely something I've faced a lot in my life, is being that expected expert in a topic. Way back in high school, people knew in my class and my teachers that I had quite an interest in physics and astronomy. And even back then, the teachers would maybe pick on me to answer a question about some obscure astronomy thing. And I probably wouldn't know the answer, but I would feel like I had to, I was responsible for knowing all of physics and astronomy at that age, even though that's quite absurd for anyone to ever know all of the subject. I would feel that just because my peers in my class expected me to be Toby, the person that knows stuff about physics and astronomy, that if I didn't know the answer, it was sort of shameful, and that I didn't really feel comfortable, as much as I should have, asking other people in my class questions about physics, because I was the one who was expected to be the expert on this and not them. And it's quite a dangerous mindset to stop your own questions and your own curiosity because you're suddenly expected to know more about it than other people. Even going on through uni, and then I graduated with a physics degree, it still sort of hampers me in a way, because when I'm with people, I'm afraid that if I ask too many perceived dumb questions about physics, they will look at me and think, how did you get your physics degree? As if I have a lack of confidence in the worthiness of my physics work and of my physics degree, that if I ask too many dumb questions, I didn't deserve it. And like I said, I think it's quite damaging to be in that role. I do have the degree, which means I do know some stuff about physics, but I still think it's absurd for anyone to think that they know all of physics. And there are going to be mistakes that I make in explanations and things I don't understand. I feel like I need to gain more confidence in asking the questions despite my qualifications. I think someone with a qualification who holds that up as meaning that you should trust them and everything they say is a bad thing, because your qualification shouldn't really give you so much superiority over other people. It should represent that you have at least proven you know a base level of things, but I don't think there's anything that really proves that you should trust every word someone says. I think you should always, question people with qualifications, and people with qualifications should ask questions of everyone else. I get how saying this could also be damaging in the other direction, like you want people who do have levels of understanding to sometimes be the ones to stand up and tell people how something works, and you want people to believe in scientists and believe in people who have gone through like all the education system and actually do know what they're talking about, because a lot of problems in science come when people deny facts that scientists try to tell them, and there's this whole mistrust in science going on. So it can be damaging to say like people with qualifications shouldn't act like they know everything, because sometimes that confidence is what they need to do to get important ideas across. But I don't really know the answer here. Like, I think it's a bit of both. If you're going to have people without qualifications and without the education standing up and being the ones who are confident enough to say, listen to me, this is how something works, and you've got all the scientists standing on the other hand saying, we're not quite sure in the science, we're still learning as well, we make mistakes, and admitting the truth and the honesty behind science, then that's going to lead to a really skewed reality where I guess the wrong people come into power. So I don't think scientists should be totally like unconfident in what they're trying to get across, but I think that scientists and people with any kind of interest or perceived expert level in something should continue asking questions and should continue engaging with people, and not let themselves think that they are on this pedestal where they are only there to answer questions and not to ask them as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because it's not really something I've heard people talking about before, but it's just something that crossed my mind the other week when I felt like for the first time in a while that I could really just ask questions without being judged. So leave a comment below if you've ever felt a similar thing to this, and I'll see you next time.